Greetings, welcome. My name is Jackson Hardin, and welcome to this live. Welcome to this video recording. It is Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. This is when I do these lives lately. Talk about a subject, talk about a topic. And tonight, what I have on my mind, or what I had on my mind last week that I thought would be good to share or talk about is the notion of getting paid to become a well-rounded man or individual. um, Getting paid to become a well-rounded man. And so, what does that mean? Well, I wanted to hit this well-rounded man framework because when I was younger, that was the way that I perceived kind of growing up and developing myself, like these different skills that I wanted to learn. I wanted to be useful. I wanted to be well-rounded. I wanted to be able to take care of myself in different situations, whether that be um, the ability to communicate with people through written word, through spoken word, the ability to, plan my life, the ability to manage things like finances, to be able to defend myself, to defend other people. So, like, there's these different skills that I just had in my mind as a young man that I wanted to develop and that I wanted to learn over the years. And I can say now, kind of looking back or where I'm at currently, is I've learned a lot of those things. So again, 18, 19, these things are just on my mind. There's things I want to learn, things I want to do. How do you work on a vehicle? You know? And so for those that don't know me personally, like, I didn't have a father figure, no one showing me the ropes. So these were a lot of things that over time I developed, through taking classes, through connecting with people. So mentors, a lot of mentors along the way. So the notion of a well-rounded man is just something personal to me. And it's just that phrase that was always in my mind. Like, how do I become that? How do I grow into that? And one of the things that I learned early on is that you can get paid to grow. You can get paid to develop yourself. You can find opportunities to where um, people are investing in you as you develop yourself. And so that happened for me out of the gates. When I was young, a good friend of mine was in the Ironworkers Union, and I came up from Kansas to Seattle. Kind of grew up in Seattle, and then we moved to Kansas when I went to high school. And a friend of mine was in the Ironworkers Union. He was starting to get buff. He had a nice truck, and I'm 16 at the time, so he has a nice vehicle. He's getting in shape and stuff. I'm like, what's going on? And he said that he was in the Ironworkers Union, and so I kind of always liked the notion of having a working class job, particularly growing up listening to street punk and oi, that working class music. So the notion, joining a union, I didn't know what that meant, but so I kind of set my sight on that. And when I came up to Seattle, he helped me get into the union, and so I was a apprentice iron worker for a few years. And the reason I tell that portion of this story is because that really set the framework for me when it came to the way that I would navigate my life and career from then on. And I guess set the framework isn't necessarily the best way of putting it. I kind of had this idea that I don't want to pay for you to teach me how to do something. Like, if you want me to do something like a particular job, like, I'm not going to go pay money to learn how to do it and then make some money. Like, you can pay me while I learn it, which is kind of a arrogant and naive approach. There's definitely things that I do pay to learn nowadays, but it was just the notion of, like, college. I college was never something that I was interested in. When I was in high school, I was ready to start working. Like, I'm not going to go learn more stuff before I can start working. Like, I was working in high school. I'm just, give me more work. Let's do more stuff. I'm not trying to go pay a whole bunch of money to later learn how to work. So I end up in the union. In the union, you get paid. At least this particular one, it was Local 86, Ironworkers Union here in Seattle, and it's on the job training. Like we've all had this on the job training, and um, so I showed up not knowing anything at all. But after a couple of years, I knew how to get around the job site, and I had. It's been so long, but learn how to tie rebar and whatnot, how to help give directions and whatnot to the cranes, how to unload trucks, and we did a little bit of welding. I think my second year, and it was something that I was practicing and learning. I eventually left the union in order to pursue other career aspirations, but that notion of getting paid on the job to learn is kind of where I started to apply that to everything that I did. How can I find a way to get paid to learn these skills that a well-rounded man, in my estimation, would have? If I wanted to learn to communicate, if I wanted to learn to write, if I wanted to learn to fight, if I wanted to learn, um, how to run a business. So the name of the game here is, how do you find opportunities to be paid as you develop yourself into the kind of person that you want to be? And the example I'm giving of the Ironworkers Union is one way, but there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different vocations and a lot of different opportunities in which you can do this. Another one that comes to mind that I did most of my jobs, I'll say it like this: most of my jobs and most of the things that I do when it comes to work, I'm choosing these jobs not just based on what they're going to pay me, but based on what I'm going to learn. And so I'll take jobs in different industries and different fields because I want to develop a skill set. I've had a lot of different kinds of jobs. I've had a wide plethora of different jobs. And again, in doing all those, I'm usually trying to develop a skill set. So one of the things that really contributed to this mindset was this idea that I learned young too, which was from a guy named Jim Rohn, which is work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And what that means is, when you're taking on jobs, when you're taking on these different opportunities, you're taking them on to develop yourself, not necessarily just for the pay. The pay is great, right? That's one aspect of it, is the pay. But the other aspect of it is who are you becoming on these jobs? Who are you becoming in these situations and activities that you're engaged in, whether that be work or extracurricular things that you're doing? Who are you becoming? What is that building you into? So as I moved forward in my life, I would always take on jobs where I was learning something new and that I enjoyed the job. That always took precedent. There's some baseline pay things that I always wanted or was looking for, but I was always looking to develop different skills. And I mean, I could go over a work history that I have and kind of explain why I took those different opportunities and what they provided for me. So I guess the first jobs that I had was when I was in high school, was as a cook in a restaurant. And that gave me some foundational skills to be able to cook and make meals. It's shocking to me how many people out there, how many young men, how many young women don't know how to cook. No one knows how to cook anymore because we were so busy like ordering food. But the first job I had was cooking. So we developed that skill. And then, as I mentioned, I went into the Ironworkers Union, which taught me how to work. It taught me actually how to work hard, because now I can go to any job, and the hard work that people are doing is not hard. Is not as hard as carrying, rebar on your back through fucking mud in the rain in Seattle. Like that's hard work. And so now I have this gear that I can access when I do anything. And that's been applied, as I've trained martial arts and, fought and competed. I was at a gym last week. It was a fucking brutal workout, but I could do the workout because early on I learned how to grind and how to actually work. After the Ironworkers Union, I decided to go to school for nursing. And again, the nursing approach that I was taking was to learn certain skills. I wanted to learn about the human body, anatomy, how it functions, and how to take care of myself and how to take care of other people. I ended up doing the nursing thing with a pivot towards personal training. I did that. I went into like a pre-nursing program, so I never went through like a nursing program. But in pre-nursing, it was anatomy, physiology, psychology, all these things that I wanted to learn, that I could take the nursing route or I could take the personal training route, decide, depending on which way I went. I ended up going the personal training route. But during that time, I also worked at nightclubs as security and as a doorman. And I did that specifically to have more opportunities to just engage with people and develop communication skills. I learned one night, it's an embarrassing story, and I won't tell you the whole thing, that I was not very good at communicating because I was learning how to communicate on a job site as a, working rebar. And if anyone has done that, if anyone's worked in construction, the way that you communicate doing construction and the way that you communicate in the real world, or in the rest of the world, should probably be a little bit different. I didn't know that. And so I ended up getting a job working some nightclubs in Seattle doing the door. And now I'm learning how to, greet people. Hey, how's it going? How's the night? What are you guys up to? And just start to have that entry level, just conversation, the ability to talk to people and connect with people on different things. While I was still pursuing nursing, I said, okay, I'm probably going to have to work with kids. I've never worked with kids. And I ended up taking a job abroad doing teaching English as a second language. So I worked with kids from preschool all the way up to high school. And again, it gave me the opportunity to continue to learn how to communicate, and then also how to engage with kids. And then as I transitioned from that into personal training, the skills that I learned teaching classes, creating like a framework for the class, keeping people engaged, all of those things would apply to personal training. And I went into that to learn about the human body a little bit more, and just I was into working out, training, fighting, martial arts. So developing all of those skills. So I can go on and on, different jobs I've taken and different skills that I've learned, but that's the point. The point is, how do you get paid growing into the man that you want to be? Well, figure out who it is you want to be and figure out what skills you're going to need. And this is true for just the average individual. And it's true for somebody who's a coach or an artist or someone that's trying to build a business, is to develop the skills to do these things. You can find opportunities where you are in a position to develop those skills. And so for me, personal training gave me the opportunity to learn how to lead people, how to manage my time, build out a website, create online content. All of these things were tied to my income. Instead of it being something that I was doing, I was going to work and then in the evening coming home and learning these things, I just turned it into my work. And there was some positives to that, and there's been some negatives. But again, that's always been my approach. How do you get paid to learn it? Right now, some of the things that I'm interested in diving into more deeply is like mechanical work. I have a motorcycle I'm building in the garage. I'm looking for a little extra part-time work right now as I'm doing personal training. This time of the year is kind of slow. New Year's comes around, things will pick up. So I'm looking at picking up another job just to, mitigate some of that income. And so I've been leaning towards more mechanical work. So I've been calling around, looking for different environments, different shops, different places where I could work just even as an assistant in the shop and learn more skills when it comes to breaking down engines and welding and building bikes and whatnot. But again, my approach towards the job isn't just about the finances, it's about the skill development. And that's just always been how I've done everything, is how can I, if I want to learn something, I'm going to find a way to get paid doing it. Now, this isn't just a job. Sometimes it's a business. For me, teaching kickboxing and doing personal training was an opportunity for me to deepen my understanding of what those skills, what those trades, what those things entail. by turning it into, again, a business, right? So if kickboxing is my business, or even coaching is my business, now, like, I'm reading books, going and meeting with other people around these things, watching videos, taking courses. I'm developing myself in the name of the vocation. So what I'm doing is an investment, and it's a immediate kind of investment, that I can start to use what I'm learning immediately on the job in order to progress myself in that venture. So if you have any idea whatsoever of the kind of person you want to be, I imagine there's something in your brain or something in you where you feel called to a certain endeavor. So whatever that is, how do you find a way to develop that skill, to get paid to develop that skill along the way? Whether that's creating a business opportunity for yourself, or that's, joining a workforce position or getting a job in that field. But as you identify those parts of you that you want to grow into, and you seek out opportunities that let you practice those things, those skills develop, you develop. And then when you put yourself out into the world, you're putting a much more rounded and developed person into the world. So that's my way of approaching work, and that's my way of approaching personal growth and development. Is, how do I turn this into something where I'm getting paid to grow, instead of just doing something I don't want to do, or making all the growth and development stuff happen on my own dime or on my own time. So a couple downsides to this. Um, for me, in the way that I've approached it, I mean, it probably wouldn't be the same for you, but for me, I have such a wide variety of things that I am interested in, that I have a very wide variety of skills. I'm not a specialist in anything. I can't walk into like a metal shop and say I have 10 years of experience. I don't. Um, but I have a little bit of experience with a lot of things. And there's certain jobs and certain vocations where that's useful. There's a lot of jobs and vocations where that's useful. Just knowing how to play that is something that I'm learning now too. Um, Self-taught. Here's another little downside. Self-taught doesn't necessarily mean that it's free. Like a lot of the self-taught and personal development things, they come at the cost of you trying things out, trying new approaches out. It can take time for you to develop things, especially if you're doing it on your own, which is why it's so helpful and useful to find a vocation where you can get mentors to teach you, instead of trying to do it all yourself. This is something that I do. I try to do it myself, and then it takes a little bit longer as you're learning those skills on your own. So these are just some things to keep in mind if you start to pursue developing yourself in all these ways. Um, you can show up with a lot of different skill sets, but sometimes that takes you out of the position of being a specialist, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's very, I think, ingrained in us that we want to find one pathway and become really good at that. Um, Again, has its place, has its benefits, depends on what you're talking about and what you're up to. But for me, I like to have a lot of different, skills, a lot of different ways to do things. So that's how you practice this. Your practice is, what skills or what parts of you do you want to develop next? And then ask yourself, where can I get paid learning this? How can I create an opportunity for this? Is there an entry level job or a trade or a gym, a shop, mentorship opportunity that I can get involved in? How can you start to stretch yourself in these ways that are important to you, and get paid doing that? Where are those opportunities for you? And another way that you can do this is you can teach or bring people up behind you as you go. So again, like doing personal training and kickboxing, it's like, I'm not the best kickboxer in the world, far from it, but I know more than the next guy, and so I can support him. And given the right opportunity, I can get paid supporting this person. And in doing so, I'm becoming better, because now I have to think through, how would I communicate how to do this kick? Like, what are the micro movements that I've got to bring into his awareness or her awareness? So you can learn something and then immediately start applying the level of, your level, in a way that other people can benefit from and would pay you for. So this is another way that you can do things. But again, the concept, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you carry that into the way that you're operating, whether the way you're operating your business or the way you're operating your craft, whatever that is, like as I go into the world and do things, it's about developing myself as an individual more than it is about just making this company money or doing this job well, which is all part of it. But it's about developing myself in the process of doing that. And that reframe was really helpful because then you can take any job, anything that you may find yourself doing, and there's an opportunity in that for you to become better. It might not be something that you love. It might not be something that you want to spend the rest of your life doing, but it may be what you're up to right now. How can you utilize that opportunity to grow yourself for the time being? Um, so that's pretty much it. That's how you get paid, to develop yourself and grow yourself. Figure out what it is that you want to learn, who it is you want to become, figure out what skills and abilities you would need to do that, and then start to seek out these opportunities, whether it be a business opportunity or a vocation or a mentorship situation where you can get paid to develop yourself into the kind of man that you want to be. And you don't have to shell it all out to make that happen. You can find people that are going to bring you on board with their mission, their situation. You can create a mission or situation that brings in finances for you. So that's what I got for you this week. Um, I don't know. I don't have anything to announce. Next week, I'll probably be doing the same thing, 6:30 p.m. I'll pick a new topic here. I guess the new year is a month or two out, and it would probably be in my best interest and probably your best interest for me to start putting together some programs for preparing for the new year and creating some goals and some visions for what the year is going to look like. So, again, I've been messing around with the Patreon thing a little bit, and building some things there, but it's kind of come in waves. So I will keep everyone posted as programs for the new year and programs for the year winding down develop. But if you found this video useful, like it, share it, all that nonsense. And I'll be back here next week with something. I'm also very open to topics. So whether it be here on YouTube or it be Facebook or it be Instagram or wherever you can get a hold of me, drop me a line and let me know if there's a specific topic or challenge that you're experiencing personally or professionally. And if it makes sense, I can do a little video on that for you. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next week.